Welcome to ITU Telecom World 2019 here in Budapest, Hungary, where I'm very pleased to be joined in the studio today by Jade Nestor, who's the Director of Consumer Policy for GSMA. Jade, welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
Innovating together, connectivity that matters is this year's theme. I wanted to ask you, what makes connectivity meaningful and important from GSMA's point of view?
Well, of course, connectivity is about connecting people, particularly for mobile, but increasingly connectivity is going to be about connecting people to devices, connecting devices to devices. This is going to increase exponentially when we have 5G, but I think the experience of connectivity has already brought so much to people's lives from 2G leading up to 5G. People are able to harness and take advantage of so many more opportunities than they could in the past, educational opportunities, opportunities to participate in the democratic process. I mean, it's really been an astounding change over the past decades.
If you could choose one particular piece of technology or policy or innovation, let's say, driving the digital transformation now and in the future, what do you think that would be?
I think it would be mobile. And I think we need to create the right frameworks to continue to invest in mobile so that it continues to have a huge impact. I mean, if we think back even to 1999, the idea of having this small computer in your pocket that could process more than the computers used in the moon landing, that was astounding even 20 years ago. So I think the future is stupendous, but we can only get there if we have the right policies, the right framework for investment moving forward.
How important is establishing and maintaining trust?
I think it's critically important. For our users, trust is becoming increasingly visible for them. It's something that they're feeling and having a visceral reaction to this idea of their data is being used by these different players. How do they understand how their data is being used? How do they control it? We know that there are different roles and responsibilities for different players in the ecosystem. We've been doing our part at the GSMA to encourage responsible privacy practices amongst our stakeholders, both the MNOs and people in the broader digital ecosystem. We have mobile privacy principles that we've been advancing since 2012, and we also have privacy design guidelines for mobile application developers so that we can really put those principles into practice. Increasingly, though, we've been looking at how to develop the right kinds of privacy laws to sustain trust. And of course, there are other elements of trust as well in terms of security, fraud prevention, other consumer protection issues. And we've been collaborating with other stakeholders on those issues as well.
And what have been the major challenges in that path to achieving digital trust?
I think one thing that we've been looking at, not even necessarily from the data usage standpoint, but just from the regulatory perspective, is how to create a clear, understandable regulatory framework in the first place. So if we want to get to trust, we have to have users understand their rights. But if it's difficult for companies to even understand what the compliance obligations are, I think it's difficult for consumers to then understand what the different requirements are. And in some cases you might have, in the scope of privacy, a privacy law, a telecommunications law that has data requirements that are like a privacy law but not, and then maybe some sort of license obligation that has a confidentiality obligation which is similar but maybe slightly different. And maybe the consumer just has an awareness that there's a privacy law or knows that the MNO is trying to protect their data, but they're not really sure which regulator to go to. And we think that streamlining these legal frameworks could really help both the ecosystem and the end users.
And finally, I wanted to ask you, what's the value for you of attending events such as ITU Telecom World?
Well, for me personally, my first ITU event was the radio assembly in the WRC in 2007.
We've got another one coming up now in Sharm el-Sheikh, yes.
Yes, yeah. So for me, it's really great to come to these events and see familiar faces and to see how far the conversation has advanced and to see the new technology on display. as we talk about the policy issues and the regulatory issues advancing. So for me, it's great to be here at ITU Telecom World.
Great, well, we're very glad to have you. Thank you very much for joining us in the studio, and we look forward to catching up with you again soon.
That's great, thank you.
Thank you.